Okay, this is where we left our Simon game after the last video. I've done the attract mode, and I've also key press routine called any key, and I've got that to watch button A and Y at the moment. So if I click the Y button, it goes out of attract mode, and you can see that just on my screen there. It stopped running the program. So let's have a look at this any key routine to start with. Now at the moment what I do is return a boolean of true or false if the button's been pressed, but what I want to do is modify this so that it does a key bounce in it as well. It's not even really a key bounce, it's just to check whether I've let go a key so I don't get multiple presses. So if I was to change this here, it comes into any key, it says is A pressed, and then while that button is still pressed, then while it's pressed, I just want it to loop through nothing. So if you put pass in there, it will just loop waiting for that to stop. If you call any key, if there's nothing being pressed, it'll return straight away. But if there's a key being pressed, whatever that key is, it will wait for that key to be let go. This works for this because we only expect to ever press one key at once. If we do in any other games where there's only ever one key pressed at one time, we don't have two pressed, then what I'm doing here hopefully would work for that. So instead of having pressed equals true, I'm going to change that, I think. Let's say key. Let's store it in a string, and let's say the key is empty string, and then I'm going to return key. I'll just get rid of that one for the minute. Change that to key equals A. The other thing that I noticed though was that if you print out the value of Explorer button A, you'll find it is 0 or 1, I can't remember, and each of the buttons has its own numeric value anyway. So we could do it that way, which would be a little bit quicker. But I find doing it this way is more readable. And so if anyone's watching this and just learning programming generally, by writing out some of these things and not using the shortcuts, it just helps them to see what I'm trying to do. So now I've got to repeat this for the others, so I'll just cut and paste this, won't bother showing this. So there's a little routine there for each of the different buttons, and it will return the key that's pressed and hold it running while that key was still pressed. Now because I'm returning a key value here, a string value and not a boolean, I need to change the attract. So instead of going if any key there true or false, I'm going to say press equals any key. If press doesn't equal empty string, then wait for naught and set attracting to false. So that's modified that a little bit. A couple of people have said about how this PicoExplorer, there's a memory leak on it, and I think some of the problems I've been having with things I've thought haven't been working have been because of whatever this memory leak is. Maybe in a future video I'm going to try and run this screen on a standard build, maybe not the Pimoroni build, but I don't know. It all depends on whether I can do it or not. But if we stop this now and try and play it, hopefully line 130. Oh, extra. Try that again, stop and run. Hopefully I don't have to reset it. Yeah, I have to reset it. So that's the memory leak there. So let's just reset it and try running it again. All right, so that's working now. Previously it was only A and Y that you could use. So if I press B now, it should jump out the loop. Yeah, it does. All right, that's that bit done. Let's have a look at the actual game now. So define the game. First of all, I'm going to set all of the buttons to off. False, calls that routine. To say Simon says, as Simon is starting to repeat the sequence, and then I'm going to set playing equals to true. So playing is just something to say that the game is in play. Now I'm also going to have a difficulty, set the difficulty to 1. It's not really a difficulty. The more colours in the sequence that you have to remember, the more difficult the game gets. And let's create an array colours and make that empty. So now we go into the loop that show the player the sequence and listen for the player's response. So this is going to be while playing. And now this is the bit that creates a new sequence and repeats it. For next loop for this, for I in range, start at 0 and difficulty. First thing we have to do is add a colour to the sequence. Colours append, if you remember from the UFO and the Jungle Lander games, and then random int number between 1 and 4. then make sure it's not making a noise, and then time sleep 1. So this is a gap of 1 second-ish between each element in the sequence and when you start as well. So then we light up a colour, and it's in the colours sequence, and it's the I number in that. So on this first one, it's just going to be whatever that first random number it's just picked is. Colours equal I, and then true, because we want to put the sound on it as well. Because I've updated the screen by lighting that colour up, I've got to put that say box back in and make sure it refreshes the screen. Another time sleep 1. So this is while the light is on in the sequence. Then stop the tone, reset, turn all the lights off. So we don't care which light it is, that turns it off. And of course, because we've done that, let's add the Simon Says to it again. So that should be all we need to do to repeat a sequence. So let's see whether I can get this to run. Oh yes, and of course we've not got the game running at the moment either, have we? So down here, so after the attract mode, let's say game. Try that again. Excellent. All right. So obviously it's repeating that because we're not jumping out the loop or incrementing anything at the moment, but that's the first color. So if we stop that and run that again, it should be, hopefully it'll be a different color, a different tone. Yeah. All right. So it's picking it randomly. So now let's listen for the player's reaction. So outside this loop, and say your turn. I'm going to say I equals 0 while I is less than difficulty. While that's the case, button equals empty string, and while button equals empty string. So this is the bit that's waiting for the key press. So to pass the key press repeatedly while we wait for a button, we go button equals any key. There, that will just wait until that changes from the empty string to one of the named buttons. So then if button equals buttons colors I minus 1. So if button equals the same button that's in the sequence that we're at the moment, then light up colors I, light it up, rewrite the screen and increment I. Now if it's not that, so I've got Explorer set tone 150, which is a deep tone compared to the others. Say wrong, playing equal false. So they've made a mistake, so it's the end of the game. I need to jump out the loop, so this is why I'm using that while loop here. So I'm just going to set I equals difficulty +1, so that'll jump out the loop. Again, there'll be a better way of doing that. So time sleep 1, so whether they've got the right or the wrong result there, it will still wait for a second. So reset the screen, let's put your turn on it as well, make sure the tones stop. Back out of that loop then. So if playing, so if we're still playing, if we haven't stopped playing by making the wrong turn there, if playing, let's grab that, then I want to increment difficulty. All right, so I think that's the loop. Oh, semicolon, not colon. Okay, so here we are going through the sequence, the attract. Let's push a button. Right, so repeat turn, so A. All right. Then, all right, so then A twice. Then A, 3 A's, that's very unusual. I must keep playing this in case I've done something wrong there. If it's 4 A's, it will be a strange random sequence. Maybe I'll check my code. Unless you're seeing a very strange amount of probability here. Wow, what a strange bit of probability. All right, so I'm going to do a wrong one on purpose now. So let's do this, and it should be a lower tone rung. Okay, and then, well, that's the game jumped out of it. As you can see on the screen, it's jumped out of it. So let's just work on the game loop. So while true, attract, and then game, and it should go back to attract again. So let's stop and run that again. Run. Right, I'm going to do a wrong one this time. So let's go for A, it's wrong, and it goes back into attract mode. So that's the Simon game. Hope you enjoyed watching that. That's sort of the fully featured game as I envisaged it there. There's other things you could do. Maybe if you could work out how to do it, you could put different pictures behind each of these colours. I was thinking at one point it would be nice to do a pirate, monkey, robot and ninja behind each of them, but I've personally not been able to work out how to get graphics in yet. I know some other people from the comments have got graphics in, still using this. But maybe if I can do it in the next video, I'm going to go over this and apply the comments that a couple of people have made, and just make some changes to the game. If you don't see a next video in that series, it's because some of the comments that have been made, I've not been able to work out how to implement them. But if you don't see that video, I'm not clever enough to do it. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of the series. Maybe for future improvements as well, I'll do it without the Pimoroni build. But I've still got to work out how to access this screen from the standard Micropython build, going straight to the frame buffer and not through the display module that they've created.